Don't tell me what to do. You're not the boss of me. I do what I want. Regardless of whether you yourself are a parent or teacher, you probably still understand that when it comes to young people, attempts to restrict or control their behavior can be met with a fierce resistance. Now, it's one thing when they're children, when all you're asking of them is to pick up their toys or to clean their rooms, but what about when they get older and the stakes get higher? What happens when children grow up, move away from home, and all of a sudden there's no one there to help them make good decisions, to get them to study for that exam instead of getting high with that cute girl or guy down the hall, or to remind them to use protection? What happens when there's no one there to keep them from driving home drunk? Obviously, given the stakes, these are questions that have been on the minds of parents, teachers, and policymakers for quite some time. From abstinence-only sex education programs to the famous dare to keep kids off drugs, our go-to mantra has always been, just say no. The DARE program, in fact, became so popular that by its peak it had reached over 27 million children in the United States. There's just one problem with these programs. They don't work. Study after study has shown that those who complete the DARE program are no less likely to use drugs than those who don't. Why not? Well, one compelling explanation is based on an idea called self-determination theory. According to this theory, one of the most fundamental human motivations is to satisfy a need for autonomy, a felt sense that our thoughts, our behaviors are of our own volition, that we've considered the possible alternatives and have chosen for ourselves a particular course of action or way of being that most closely reflects our own personal values. In other words, the fatal flaw of these programs is less about having prescribed the wrong ways to say no and more an issue with telling emerging adults what to do in the first place. My research is about putting this idea to the test. Our participants are incoming freshmen at the U of O. They perform a task in which they actively try to control or reduce their immediate cravings for something we know they like, their favorite foods. The key comparison here is that for half the experiment, we tell them what to do, whereas for the other half, they choose for themselves whether or not to regulate their cravings. Now, this felt sense of autonomy thing is notoriously difficult to measure, and so rather than asking participants, we ask their brains instead, using an MRI machine. Ultimately, we're interested in whether promoting autonomy improves regulation, not only in the lab, but also as we follow our participants throughout their first year of college. Now, we're analyzing the results, and we think that by demonstrating how regulation works in concert with autonomy, future interventions can better support the development of more autonomous and thus healthier adults. Thank you.